Joining me now, spokeswoman for the Republican National Committee, Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh, good to see you.
Good to see you, Liz.
All right, Kayleigh, I know this question, it's a bit of an open-ended question. I think it's part of the soul-searching the Democrats have talked about needing to do post-2016 election. But what did happen to the Democrats that after all this time, after 8 years of President Obama, Hillary Clinton was the best they could offer the people?
It's pretty incredible. You know, this candidate who was so arrogant, so out of touch, who essentially kicked off her campaign, let's remember, by saying she and Bill were dead broke when they left the White House. This is who they selected. It was a coronation. There was never any viable alternative to Hillary, or so they thought, until the rise of Bernie Sanders. But you know what's so striking, Liz, to me in this book is that she's blind to her own flaws. We remember she called all Trump supporters deplorable and irredeemable. Well, in this book, she calls Bernie supporters sexist. So this is someone who apologized for labeling half the country deplorable, and here she is labeling her own base of Democrats sexist. It's pretty breathtaking.
It is, and the amount of blame that she still levies at everyone else in this book, that's the part that's, well, it's entertaining, to be honest, to read. I did buy this book, full disclosure, and it's pretty interesting to look at, but she blames not only Bernie Sanders, not only James Comey, not only Russia, who, by the way, she refers to several hundred times in this book. It's ridiculous. She also blames former President Obama for not adequately addressing what she calls Russian interference in our campaigns. I mean, she actually blamed Obama for her loss.
That's right. She blamed Jim Comey. We remember there were like 20-something odd things that she blamed for her loss. None of them herself, by the way. But the one that was most interesting to me, Liz, was when she blamed the media. She said that the media acted as if her email scandal was the biggest event since World War II. She said that her email scandal dominated the headlines anytime her name was mentioned. I'll tell you this, 4 weeks ago, I was a part of the mainstream media, and I promise you, and all throughout the campaign, there was never coverage of Hillary Clinton's emails. I had to shout from the rooftops, and even then it barely got coverage. You know, for her to blame the media and say that all they did was talk about emails, maybe you guys did at One America, maybe a few other entities did, but most of the media was not talking about that.
No, you're absolutely right. Every time I talked during the campaign season, even now, to be honest, when we're talking about what happened in the 2016 campaign, Democrats who come on this show think that it's a big nothing burger. They think the emails are just something dumb that she did, to use her own talking point, her narrative. They think it's something dumb that had nothing to do with whether she was qualified to be president. I, of course, argue otherwise, that if you're not trustworthy, if you put people's lives at risk, and if you break the law, those are three fundamentals that disqualify you from being the president. The other thing that I think people overlook why Hillary Clinton lost is how much she pandered to minority groups or demographic groups here. We talk so often on this show about how divided our country is, that the left is trying to use this divide and conquer strategy. Well, Hillary Clinton did that the entirety of last year. She talked down to black people. She pandered to them. She talked down to Latino people. She pandered to them just for their votes. And she talked down to women. She actually had the audacity to tell us as young women that we should vote for her just because we share a gender with her.
That's right, and she played the victim card all the way. We remember with Bernie Sanders on the debate stage, she basically said that he was sexist when he used the word excuse me, or at least her allies did out in the media. She assumed that to win voters like you and me, she just had to play the victim card. But she made a miscalculation, because voters like you and me, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, all Americans, we have a diverse array of issues that we're interested in. You can't cater to us just based on our gender or our skin type, and that's where Trump did so well. He assumed every American cares about the economy. Every America cares about putting America first. He didn't groupify people or otherize certain groups and segments in society. He spoke to all Americans as a collective whole. And I think you're right that's what launched him to the presidency, and that's where Hillary had a big problem.
Right, and another area I think that she underestimates in her book, and perhaps just because she doesn't want to, I guess, admit her own guilt here, is all of her dealings with the Clinton Foundation. I mean, she and Bill grew rich, which is ironic based off of what you said at the very beginning of the segment, that they claimed they were dead broke when they left the White House. They grew rich during her time as Secretary of State because she sold favors from the State Department to people all over the world. She sold access to our government, access to approval for deals necessary that our government had to give them for their business deals. People don't like that. She sits here, the Democratic Party sits here and accuses Donald Trump of colluding with the Russians, accuses him of conflicts of interest with his business deal, when Hillary Clinton did all of the things that they accused Donald Trump of, and she was never held accountable. People don't like the idea that their government officials are held to that different standard where there's zero accountability.
No doubt about it. And we recall she shipped 1/3 of U.S. uranium over to Russia. She signed off on it at the State Department. And there was this just web of Bill would give a speech for a country. The State Department would give a favor to the country. The money siphoned through the Clinton Foundation. And Americans recognized that. That's why when Donald Trump said drain the swamp, they knew what he was talking about. He was talking about Washington, D.C. and insiders. He was talking about Hillary Clinton. So you had a mannequin politician engaging in quid pro quo corruption against a real outsider calling out the game. And that's essentially why she lost. She was an insider who no one trusted.
Right. And Kayleigh, let me ask you this quickly before we leave. When we're talking about draining the swamp, it's not just people who are in elected office now. It's the idea of holding those accountable who have served before and who have committed some sort of wrongdoing, whether it's Hillary Clinton, whether it's James Comey, whether it's Lois Lerner. In your opinion, should the Trump Justice Department, should they be going after these people a little bit harder, perhaps even to the point of prosecution?
Look, it's up to them. I know they're prioritizing certain things. They're aggressively going after leakers. I believe that Jeff Sessions is fully capable of handling and prioritizing things. And, you know, I'm sure he's looking into it. And if he thinks it merits prosecution, he'll certainly go about that.
Well, I certainly think Lois Lerner merits prosecution, and I wish that he and I agreed on that. Kayleigh, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was great to talk to you.